Hi, this is Dr. Syed from India. Today I am going to teach you about NEBOSH International General Certificate, Management of International Health and Safety, Element 1, Part 4, Foundation in Health and Safety. Now we are going to study about health and safety regulations. As per the international regulations, the International Labour Organization (ILO) is a United Nations agency. The ILO has been active in the area of health and safety standards, the principles of which have been widely adopted. In 1981, ILO adopted the Occupational Health and Safety Convention. Due to this convention, this sets forth a basic goal-setting policy for health and safety at both the national level and the level of the individual undertaking. The Occupational Health and Safety Convention C-155 is complemented by P-155. The protocol to the Occupational Health and Safety Convention 1981, which fleshes out some of the provisions regarding reporting of occupational accidents, etc., to the national authorities. The Occupational Safety and Health Recommendations in 1981 R164 is a supplementary of C155 and provides more detailed guidance on how to comply with the policies of C155. It identifies obligations that might be placed on employers and workers in order to achieve the basic goal of safe and healthy place of work. So, what it identifies? It can make the obligations that might be placed on the employer and workers just to make the place safe and healthy. Now we will see the basic responsibilities of the employer. Article 16 of C-155 identifies some basic obligations on the employer are as follows. Employers shall ensure that, as far as is reasonably practical, the workplace machinery, equipment and processes under their control are safe and without risk to health. The another one is, employers shall ensure that, so far as is reasonably practicable, the chemical, physical and biological substances and agents under their control are without risk to health when the appropriate measures of protection are taken. As per the basic responsibilities of the employer should provide where necessary adequate protective clothing and protective equipment to prevent, so far as is reasonably practicable, so that the workers may work very safely. The other responsibilities of the employer are make workplace safe. As per the basic responsibilities of the employer, Article 10 of R164 explains as follows. It identifies at least the following practical obligations to meet the objective of Article 16 of C155. A. The employer should provide and maintain workplaces, machinery and equipment, and use work methods which are as safe and without a risk to health as is reasonably practicable. B. The responsibilities of the employer is to give necessary instructions and training to the employees as per the capacities of the different categories of workers. C. To provide adequate supervision of work on work practices, applications, use of occupational safety and health measures. Then D. To institute organizational arrangements regarding occupational safety and health and the working environment adapted to the size of the undertaking and the nature of its activities. E. To provide without any cost to the worker adequate personal protective clothing and equipment which are reasonably necessary when hazards can't be prevented or controlled. F. To ensure that work organizations, particularly with respect to hours of work and rest breaks, does not adversely affect occupational safety and health. G. To take all reasonably practicable measures with a view to eliminating excessive physical and mental fatigue. H. To undertake studies and research in the technical knowledge necessary to comply with the foregoing clauses. Now we will see the workers' responsibilities and rights. Article 19 of C-155 identifies obligations placed on all workers and their representatives to cooperate with their employer to fulfilling his safety obligations. Workers should take reasonable care for their own safety and that of other persons who may be affected by their act. Comply with instructions given to their own safety and health and those of others, and with safety and health procedures. Regarding the workers' responsibilities and rights, use safety devices and protective equipment correctly. Do not render them inoperative. It is the responsibility of every employee that they should use the devices and protective equipment correctly as per the safety procedures, but they do not make them inoperative. D. Report to their immediate supervisor any situation which they have reason to believe could present a hazard and which they can't correct themselves. In many places, some of the employees, they will feel that something is going to be a hazard. Regarding this hazard, they should immediately report their immediate supervisor for the correction of that hazard. Report any accident or injury to health which arises in course of or in connection with work. See, if anything happens, any accident, this is the duty of the employee that he should report it immediately to the concerned supervisor. The additional rights of workers, Article number 19 of C-155. A. The representative of workers in an undertaking are given adequate information on the measures taken by the employer to make sure the occupational safety and health and may consult their representative organizations about such information provided. But they should not disclose commercial secrets. B. Workers and their representatives in the undertaking are given appropriate training in occupational safety and health. Point number C. Workers of the representatives organization in an undertaking, in accordance with national law and practice, they can inquire into and may be consulted by the employer on all aspects of occupational safety and health associated with their work. For this purpose, technical advisors may be brought from outside the mutual agreement. D. A worker reports to his immediate supervisor on any situation which he has a reasonable justification to believe the presence of an imminent and serious danger to his life or health, until the employer has taken a remedial action. So, when a worker feels that there is a presence of an imminent and serious danger to his life or health in his workplace, he will immediately report the situation to the supervisor, and he can wait until the employer has taken remedial action. If necessary, the employer can't require workers to return to a work situation where there is continuing imminent and serious danger to life or health. The employer cannot ask the employees to work in that situation where there is imminent and serious dangers are still alive. Now we can see the non-compliance. A breach of health and safety legislation is usually a criminal offense. Wherever the part of the world you are in, as a result, a company may face heavy fines. In addition, civil liability may also arise. As a result, compensation may be payable for injuries sustained to the workers. The main cause to civil liability is the result of negligence. Negligence is probably the most important in terms to the number of cases and the amount of damages which may be awarded for serious injuries. Negligence. Negligence can cause harm to someone to whom you owed a duty of care as a result of something you failed to do so. Of course, the harm may have been reasonably foreseeable. Things are very different if no one could reasonably have seen it coming. In health and safety terms, the same concept applies to the employers who are under a duty of care towards their workers and others. The duty has a number of aspects, including the provision of a safe place of work, safe equipment, planned and safe system. If an employer fails in respect of any or all of these responsibilities by doing something or failing to act in circumstances where the reasonable man would foresee that injury is likely to be caused and he has been neglected, then he will be liable to compensate an worker who is injured as a result. The role of enforcing authorities and other external agencies. The government make laws and courts will decide on guilt and pass sentences on those who are guilty. In between the two, we have various agencies who can enforce laws, investigate, provide advice, and so on. The agencies include the following: enforcement agencies. In many countries, the government may delegate health and safety enforcement to a special agency. Such an agency is effectively the health and safety police. The fire authorities. Fire authorities often have a role to play either in enforcing specific aspects of fire legislation or simply as advisors to employers regarding fire safety. The role of insurance companies. In some countries, insurance companies play a major role in enforcing safety, thereby avoiding the necessity for the government to employ many enforcement staff. They undertake inspections and audits of their clients' premises. In some companies, they perform the inspections which occur on a regular basis. They can exert considerable influence in raising the standards so that they can refuse to provide insurance cover unless their standards are met. Now we will see the international standards and conventions. We will get a lot of information from different sources. One of the sources is a role of international standards and conventions. This is a prime body in the area of international standards in health and safety. It is the United Nations International Labour Organization. A large number of countries are members of the ILO, that is Albania, Bahrain, Chile, UK, USA and other countries. The two primary outputs of the ILO are 1. Conventions, 2. Recommendations. These two sets the international standards, that is, convention and recommendation will set the international standards. The ILO has been active in the area of health and safety standards, the principles of which have been widely adopted. Some elements of the Occupational Health and Safety Conventions are 1981 C155. These conventions can form the basis of detailed legislations in each member country. Thus, the result of that basic minimum health and safety standards are to be adopted. Other agencies are also active. For example, the International Organization for Standardization is the world's largest developer of standards. ISO has been successful in promoting the adoption of ISO 9001, the Quality Management Standard, and ISO 14001, the Environmental Management Standard. While these are not legal documents, but they have been widely adopted by large number of companies throughout the world since they demonstrate good management practices. Now we will see what's OHSAS. OHSAS is the Occupational Health and Safety Assessment Series Specification 18001 1999. This is the result of collaboration between 13 internationally organized standards organizations. It describes a health and safety management system which is thoroughly compatible with ISO 9001 and ISO 14001. Now we will see what's the source of information. Sources of information. It is of two types. One is internal and external source of informations. So there are two sources of data available for us. Outside the organization, what the information will get it as, we call it as external source of information. Inside the organization, what the information we will get it, we call it as our internal source of information. External data sources. Now we will see what are the external data sources. One is national legislation, that is regulations. Another one is safety data sheets from manufacturers and suppliers. Another one is government enforcing authority publications such as codes and practices and guidance notices. The other type of information is manufacturers, suppliers, maintenance manuals. The another type is national, international standards. The another type is information from local safety groups. The another one is information from trade associations. And the last one is information from journals and magazines. Now we will see what is the internal data sources and how we will get it. The information from accident records, information from medical records and the medical department, information from company doctors, risk assessments and maintenance reports, information from joint inspection with safety representatives, information from audits, surveys, sampling and tours. All these information will get it from internal data sources. Information from safety committee meetings. So this is also an internal data source where in a company committee safety meetings will be conducted. All this data is very helpful for us in establishing the HSE. Now we will see the examples of external information sources. The one, the International Labour Organization. Another one is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, USA. Another one is the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. The another one is the Health and Safety Executive, UK. The another one is Work Safe, Western Australia. Framework for Health and Safety Management. Health and safety must be addressed systematically within the organization. It must be considered a function of management and not less important than the management of production, purchasing, sales, human resource, etc. An appropriate arrangement must be made in the place to ensure that health and safety throughout the organization. The policy and arrangements must be monitored and reviewed continually to ensure the correct level of protection demanded by the law. Some standards on health and safety are like this. So these are the standards, that is OHSAS 18001 1999, ILO guidelines on Occupational Safety and Health Management System 2001, ILO OHSAS 2001. Elements of ILO OHSAS 2001. These elements are used for the development and maintenance of effective system and procedures. It maintains the best health and safety practices. Managing a good health and safety is a part of good management practice. Planning and implementation. This is the detailed specification of health and safety standards for implementation in all the work areas. The main concept to this idea is a risk assessment. This can guide us to identify the specific system of work to be established with protective measures. Evaluation. The meaning of evaluation is basically monitoring, measuring and reviewing performances. Simply to put the system and measures in place is not at all enough. Management should ensure that it's working well or not. This can be found out by carrying out some form of systematic review. The implementation of the health and safety policy should be monitored on a regular basis. Collect the information about accidents and other incidents. This information can be used to assess the appropriateness of the current organizational arrangements, applied standards, and the system of operation. After the evaluation, what's the action that you are going to take for the improvement? That is, defects identified by the review process must be set right as soon as possible. Make whatever the adjustment that are necessary to compensate the policy. Then auditing. Auditing is the process of collecting information on the efficiency, effectiveness and reliability of the total safety system in the organization. In auditing, it reflects the need to ensure that all aspects of the system is adopted and appropriate for the current developments as per the legislations and maintaining good health and safety practices. It is important to obtain information and advice from outside the organization about these matters to integrate with the further development of internal system and procedures. Continual improvement. You can see here, first we'll have to plan it. After planning, we'll have to do it. Then after we have done this as per your planning, then you should check out that your plan is a perfect plan. Then finally you act it as per this plan. This is the system of continual improvement. So the same circle always goes on every time and each time. All the arrangements are made for the continual improvement of all the elements of the OHSAS management system. The internal data source to be considered from the result of the performance measurements, accident investigations, etc. Compare your organization performance with other in order to benchmark your process. My dear students, this is the end of this chapter, Element 1, Part 4, Health and Safety Foundation. Here you have some revision questions in the following slides. I request you to kindly try to answer all these questions. If you still have any doubts, please contact me on my email. I can help you and clear all your doubts. Thanking you very much. My dear students, this is the end of the part 4, element 1 of Health and Safety Foundation. Hope you might have understood well about this topic. If you still have any questions or any doubts, you can contact me on my email. I can explain you well and I can remove all your doubts. Thanking you very much. Work safely and live safely.